In the early 20th century, railroads stopped at nothing to give the best possible experiences to its passengers, whether it was for a casual business trip or a long expedition into the wild and unknown. The best places where passengers could get their money's worth were along short to medium distance routes between popular destinations, especially for big cities or centers of leisure and entertainment. These markets could be extremely competitive, as companies could fight tooth and nail for superiority. In the hottest of these markets, one railroad found a way to stand out from the competition by relying on the pomp and circumstance that only the 1920s could produce.
Maybe it's effective. Probably.
How weird, you get a cut and drag it around
In the 1920s, the world's playground was Atlantic City, New Jersey. Home to white sandy beaches, vast boardwalks, casinos, and resorts, it had all of the hallmarks of entertainment for people of all ages. Its location on the Jersey Shore put it well within reasonable distances from some of the US's largest cities. Its close proximity to New York City especially made for the ideal weekend getaway for city dwellers. Going by rail, passengers could choose between three railroads: the Pennsylvania, the Reading Company, and the Central Railroad of New Jersey. Competition between these lines were extremely high, especially during peak travel times in the summer. This time of year was the only time when the Jersey Central's trains turned a profit, by leasing parlor cars from the Pullman Company, which required the CNJ to guarantee revenue. At every other time of year, the CNJ played second fiddle to the other railroads, particularly to the PRR's Nellie Bly and the Reading Company's Boardwalk Flyer. The Jersey Central had natural setbacks, owing to its inherently longer route and little else aesthetically to stand out from the competition. If the CNJ couldn't compete in speed, perhaps what they could excel at would be outclassing. On February 21st, 1929, the Blue Comet was inaugurated. The first thing that passengers would notice about this train was the paint scheme: blue for the clear skies and cream for the sands of the beaches. Each of the cars carried the names of short-orbit comets, with the astral theming also extending into the interiors, where the ceilings and decor were sprinkled with comets and stars throughout. They accented the interiors of the coaches, dining car, and parlor observation lounge, which were finished in walnut wood with nickel plating. This styling matched the atmosphere of the hotels, restaurants, bars, casinos, and beachfront viewing decks that the passengers were headed for. Standard features also included a ladies' room in each coach, a smoking section, full dining service for lunch and dinner, and in the parlor observation car, 48 rattan lounge chairs, complete with a row of wicker chairs on the observation deck. Despite being heavily loaded with luxurious amenities, none of it was extra fare. It was a clear jab at how the arch-rival Pennsylvania Railroad offered these amenities for a nominal fee. In regular service, trains would depart from Communipaw Terminal in Jersey City and could make the run to Atlantic City in 3 hours flat. Although this was 15 minutes slower than the PRR's fastest run, the Blue Comet offered an overall better environment for the customer. Billed as the Seashore's finest train, the Jersey Central was confident that this by itself would strengthen their foothold on this hotbed travel corridor. For some travelers, though, time was indeed money. For starters, both the Jersey Central and the Reading would begin and end its trips in Communipaw Terminal, which was accessible only by ferries across the Hudson River, one of the most congested waterways in the world. On the PRR, trains could leave from the middle of Lower Manhattan from Pennsylvania Station and tunnel under the river to reach New Jersey and points beyond. It created much less hassle for the passengers and got the PRR a much larger head start compared to its rivals. As long as passengers were boarding, though, the Blue Comet would be covering its operating costs. But just 8 months after the train was inaugurated, the stock markets on Wall Street crashed. The resulting Great Depression brought productivity everywhere to a halt, and even the casual New Yorker was limited in purchasing power. What started out as 2 daily round trips would become 1 by 1933. That same year, the PRR and the Reading would join forces and consolidate their operations within New Jersey, calling the joint venture the Pennsylvania Reading Seashore Lines. Together, services were reorganized to offer passengers more flexibility and direct service to Atlantic City from New York, Newark, and Elizabeth, on named trains like the Atlantic City Limited and the Nellie Bly. All of this was starting to have an effect on the Blue Comet, which was seeing lesser and lesser patronage for each year of service. As the 30s progressed, the specialized passenger cars were mismatched with standard ones, and paint schemes changed to the normal blacks and dark greens. Although this took away some of the amenities that put this train on the timetable, most would have been underutilized with ever-decreasing patronage. Given how the glamour of the 1920s was replaced by economic repair and modernity in the 30s, only to be threatened by war in the 40s, there was no getting around the fact that the Blue Comet was slower and increasingly out of date. The Blue Comet made its final run on September 27, 1941, taking the CNJ's passenger service to Atlantic City with it. As the 20th century progressed, it wasn't just the specially painted locomotives and cars that would pass into obscurity. With the rise of the automobile and air travel, people's travel tastes in general were changing, and that would leave Atlantic City as a shell of its former self. Although still a hot travel destination today, the allure behind it is nowhere near the levels that it was 100 years ago. Passenger service today is provided by NJ Transit as part of their Raritan Valley line. Although still frequent, reaching Atlantic City requires a train change in Philadelphia. There would be a more subtle attempt to try and elevate the experience, ironically beginning on the 80th anniversary of the Blue Comet. In February of 2009, NJ Transit partnered with 2 casino firms to operate a non-stop service between New York and Atlantic City, branded simply as the Atlantic City Express Service, or ACES. Although met with warm reception, its timing with the economic recession of this decade made it a hard sell. The service would be discontinued in 2011. Nevertheless, the Blue Comet is remembered most for making its luxurious amenities available for the middle class. Its allure also extends in model form thanks to a regular passenger, the head of a toy train manufacturer named Joshua Lionel Cowan. Any attempt to recapture the glory that the original train fielded has lots of outside conditions going up against it. While its fans would argue that the train could have endured had the Great Depression not intervened, the Blue Comet was very much a product of its era, and one that most people thought at the time could go on and on.